Hey, so I'm here to talk about this cycle I said I was going to talk about. I don't got my head wrap on, I don't got my headband on. Some of my locks broke off when I gave birth, and I kind of just let my hair grow out for a little while and did 2-strand twists, but my husband has been helping me make them into little baby locks. So I kind of just, they're not really gonna lay down. I just like to let them go ahead and do their thing. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about my own story, but I'm going to talk about the narcissistic cycle in general, not necessarily just to my situation, because what happened to me could happen to any and everyone, and it has happened to a lot of people. And what I'm starting to gather is some people that have been through situations with toxic dominators or difficult people that have toxic patterns don't even realize that they have been abused. Like, they'll talk about it like it's normal. You know, like somebody talking down to you, somebody belittling you, somebody, loving you with one hand and hating you with the other is a normal occurrence, and you just need to toughen up. And then when you talk to people that might have a more balanced energy or a more fluxed energy, which just means your energy is going in the aligned motion with your being, they just look at you like, nah, that's messed up. That person is mean, or those people are mean, and X, Y, and Z. So I know this might trigger some people for their own life paths, but I'm making this video and going to continue to make videos to help other people that are wanting to see their situations, maybe needing to see their situations, ready to break their own cycle with a toxic dominator or a person with an extremely difficult personality that has toxic cycles. So I typed this note out the same day I said I was going to make the video, but I'm just getting around to making the video now. One of my kids is asleep and the other one is quietly playing, so I got a little time this morning to quietly drink my coffee. Rare occasion. The mornings are usually really chaotic. So to the video, I have to share this epiphany. You see me looking over here. I'm just reading off what I typed. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this particular video or if I'm going to retype this, but let's move. So I have to share this epiphany that I had around mom guilt. Because this is kind of where this epiphany started. It's around a certain aspect of my mom guilt. I'm not saying this is everyone's truth, but this is my truth. I was programmed to feel guilty when I don't do what others tell me to do or I displease others. I was programmed to be a people pleaser. When I denied myself and blindly followed orders, even if they didn't feel right with me, or even if I knew that it wasn't necessarily the right thing to do for me or even for other people. That was part of my self-denial, me masking. That was part of the mask. But when things like this were done in real time, I got judged and guilted. And I have to write this stuff down because I'm not always as grounded as I need to be with my thoughts. So I'll get distracted and forget what I'm saying. That's just where I'm at right now while I'm like going through it. I'm really going through some dark, deep, thick emotions and energy. So Yeah, so yeah, I got judged and guilted and punished a lot for not just blindly following orders. And so I'm not talking about like the typical stuff like trying to like put a system of self-care into your kid, like brushing your teeth, taking a bath, or trying to like teach your kids cleaning systems like how to organize their toys or mop the floor. Or I'm not talking about trying to keep your kids away from toxic situations or toxic people. I'm not talking about any of the typical parenting stuff that most parents go through or might have a resistance from their kids, right? I'm talking like controlling the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you think about yourself, the way you think about that parent, the way you think about your other parent, the way you think about your cousins or maybe your siblings or your aunties, your uncles, anyone, even the way you think about your friends. They'll challenge all of that, and not just while you're a kid, but continue that on into adulthood. And if you have a spouse, a partner, a friend group, a support system that goes against what that toxic dominator or that difficult person is trying to get you to go, then they will try to downplay or isolate you from that person or support system. This has been done to me, and I have seen it done to other people in similar situations. That's part of the cycle, but I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. Like, I'm not talking about kids that like, oh, I just didn't want to brush my teeth and my parents made me, no. I'm talking more like I just wanted to live my life on my terms as a grown adult, and I was not allowed to do that while maintaining the relationship with my parents that I had at that time. And this is just so hard to talk about. I'm talking about me voicing what I want and need for myself. Like, this even comes to like small things like me having something stuck in my ear that I was complaining to my parents about when I was a teenager, and they didn't believe me. That ended up affecting the way I hear things as an adult, and not even thinking to speak up about it until it got too extreme, and not having that small issue corrected until I was way into my 20s. They discount me, so I discount myself, right? I thought that was normal. It's not. It's not normal to discount yourself in any way. It's not normal for people to tell you that they love you and to discount your feelings even if they don't see or understand. That's not normal. That's not love. That's false love. That's false light. A lot of my deep wounds came from when me and my toxic dominator were living one-on-one together. That was a tragedy. I don't know what else I went through a lot of accelerated self-growth because I had to. It was one of those situations where it's like you either grow through this or you become this. So a lot of those early years in my development as an adult, I'm talking like 19, 20, 21, 22, was me fighting with myself internally of like not being eaten alive by my toxic dominator's darkness. Me catching myself when I'm projecting what they do to me onto people that literally want to support me. So then I started to self-isolate from my support system because I didn't trust myself with people that were kind to me. Number one, I just became not used to it because I was also working in like toxic work environments. And so I'm working long hours at work because I'm trying to save money because I want to move out of the house from my toxic dominator. I'm having issues with toxic, difficult managers at work. This was just at the time. This isn't every job. This was this particular job. This was all going on at the same time. So I had voiced to my toxic dominator two things. One, I wanted to quit my job because the money was great, but everything else wasn't. And number two, that I was thinking about going back to school to maybe change my career trajectory, because that job had me questioning if I wanted to even be a chef or work in a culinary field. Maybe I wanted to do something culinary adjacent, but I wasn't like in the kitchen cooking. But I realized, an accelerated path to that was to go ahead and add on to the degree I already had. And I was staying at home anyway. I had just had like a conversation with friends, them sharing their own scenarios similar to mine, and how their parents were like really on board and supportive and positive towards them. So, it really made me feel like, okay, so me having this conversation with my parent, like they say they support me. So, it makes sense. The conversation did not go that way. I mean, we got into arguments and crying and all this other stuff. And long story short, I kept my job because I was told that I needed to pay rent, because I was told that my other parent had told my toxic dominator that I needed to charge them rent. Now, looking back on the situation, my toxic dominator was telling my other parent a bunch of some truth, because I was also toxic to them. Like, I was toxic to my toxic dominator because my toxic dominator was toxic to me. Like, I didn't do the typical, like, I'm going to cower away and hide in a corner of my room and make myself small and like kill every aspect of my light. Like, some of that did happen, but I was also like, if you're going to torture me, I'm going to torture you. We're both going to, because like, I know that was petty, but number one, I was in my early 20s. So like, I would have responded to that situation so different, now being like going into my 30s, but like, because like my brain development is just different. My worldview is different. How I view others is different. But yeah, a little bit had to do with me being immature. But my toxic dominator is 40 years older than me. They could have controlled that situation different. I could have controlled that shit. But at the time, that's the only way I knew how to fight back. And some people are like, why didn't you just move out? I had been trying to move out for years. Like, I was just trying to figure out how to be okay with the situation. So like, I graduated from college, right? And my toxic dominator and my other parent are getting divorced. This happened fairly after I graduated college. So my toxic dominator takes control of the narrative of the situation. As my parents are trying to tell me together, she kind of just like, boop, forget what you're saying. I'm going to tell you the story. So she tells me the story from her perspective. I didn't even hear the divorce story from my dad's perspective until like years later. But, so I'm just, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of shocked. Like, at this point, I'm like 21, 22. Just graduated college. I wanted to stay at college, actually continue my degree, but that's a whole nother story. I ended up staying home, and I ended up moving in with my mom because I felt bad for her. My other parent did some actual literal things that were dirty to them. And I felt bad. They were talking about, my toxic dominator was talking about how they had to start their life completely over financially, emotionally, romantically. And, they really were a wreck in a lot of ways. And I just wanted to be there to support them. So I decided to put my plans on hold to go live with them. I had multiple conversations with my other parent about how they felt like it wasn't a good idea. But simultaneously, my toxic dominator was also villainizing my other parent more than they actually were. Now, in this situation, if you look at it just from like the cover of the book, my other parent definitely is the villain. Like, in some ways factual, but in some ways not factual. Because they were in bondage in their own way, with my toxic dominator being married to them. But my toxic dominator didn't do the same things to my other parent that they did to me, because my other parent always had some type of control over them because they made more money, and they never did this in a controlling way, but my toxic dominator couldn't dominate them. Number one, because of their personality, but number two, because like they held their own so well that like it just wasn't gonna happen. Me being a child, I had to gain the confidence to hold my own so well that it didn't matter. And then like, I'm gonna come back, but like as I got older and started to develop that confidence to stand on my own, my toxic dominator would tell me how strong I was, and in one world, in one reality, would tell me how proud they were of me. But in another world, in another reality, they're guilting me to stay, charging me rent, so it's taking me longer to save money to move out. They're trying to micromanage my finances, making me feel bad, even if I just go to like Walmart or Target and buy myself like a pair of cheap $20, $30 shoes, you know, and then they're telling me like I must be wasting all my money when I know what I have in my bank account, you know, like, and they still do that to this day. They try to insinuate to my other parent that I have messy finances when my other parent is telling them that that isn't tracking. They don't see that. They don't, you know, they don't see that at all. And so it's, you know, I can never do anything right in my toxic dominator's eyes. That's just, this video is turning out way longer than I expected it to be. I don't even know if I'm gonna edit it. I'm just gonna post it as it is. So I'm going down. I'm trying to get the cycle out. I'm probably gonna cut the video when I do get it out. But if someone wants to sit here and listen to me ramble about this situation and try to make sense of it all from different perspectives, hey, go ahead, do that, you know. I've heard I have a common voice. Whatever. We move. Just reading through my notes, trying to gather my thoughts together. So yeah, this type of programming got pounded into me from the time that I started to make thoughts, right? So like, I just learned to like be quiet and cry. So that's what I did for like the first decade of my life. I never really stopped crying, but I just, after, I'm going to say around like 11, 12, I really just started to be more vocal. Sometimes I would write things down. My mom would like look through my diary and like, yeah, she would look through my diary and like rummage through my room when I wasn't in there. I mean, she did this until I moved out, you know. She I hope this video doesn't get flagged, but like when I was younger, she would find like sad, depressed girl diary posts, and so she would take me to all these therapists and tell them they had to figure out what was wrong with me, something was wrong with me. And I would tell the therapist it was my mom, and they would say, well, what is it? But I really couldn't say it. Like, I didn't have the language to say it in a way that like made sense to even me. So I would just keep saying like, it's my mom. And so then my mom internalized that. And so then like she would punish me, you know? So it was like guilt, punishment. And then the triangulation, right? Trying to get my words right. The triangulation happened when she threw my dad in there, because when she saw I was the type of kid that you could keep guilting me, but after a while I just frankly just wouldn't give a fuck. Like, I hope it doesn't, okay, give a fudge, I'll say that, right? Just, because I'm like that to this day. Like, if I feel like I'm doing something for myself and I feel like you're trying to guilt me into feeling bad for protecting myself, maybe I'll feel guilted in the beginning, but if you continue to do that, after a while, I'm just gonna be like, man, like, I'm out, like, I can't keep doing this with you. This is crazy. And this is just solidified as I've gotten older. It's just gotten even more trained into my nerves. That's just how I am. I've been that way since I was little. My mom's been trying to train me out of being that way. I mean, so strategically, even when it came to friendships that were clearly toxic to me, she would tell me that I was being mean to cut that friend out of my life, that I would need to go back and figure out what I needed to do to continue to be friends with these people. So I held on to not only my toxic dominator that just happens to be my parent, but also to difficult and toxic cycles and friendships and relationships. Someone would have to be so blatantly, like, someone would have to straight up, like, drag me through concrete, bare butt naked, emotionally, for my mom to be like, yeah, now you cut them off. But, like, why do I need to wait till then? You know? And so I'm just training my brain now, right at 29, to not think like that, to not think that I have to wait until things are super bad to say something that is actually natural and healthy and better for everyone as a whole. If you just say what you gotta say as is happening, or soon after it happens, than to just hold on to it and try to keep giving that person the benefit of the doubt, because then you're just making assumptions. You're just making up things in your head, basically, that may or may not even be true, and so it gets tricky when you're talking to people that lie and manipulate naturally. So, like, you confronting them, some people that are hiding from themselves might get defensive or might not understand what you're talking about. But think about talking to a toxic dominator about something that's bothering you, and their reaction is the defensiveness and acting like they don't know what you're talking about, but they're also, like, lying and gaslighting you all at the same time. So when you become grounded enough to call them out on this, you're just gonna feel like an idiot for even opening your mouth to begin with, because the conversation is gonna end with them either trying to, like, create a happy ending where there is none, or, like, just leaving you raw and, like, not validated. There's no conclusion. And then next time this person, like, interacts with you, they're gonna act like the silence in the space was the conclusion. And then they're gonna act like them giving you something like money or take you out to brunch or doing something with you where they're giving you stuff is the apology. And no. Like, I'm sorry to, like, laugh, but it's just, I just feel so free now, because I just realize how wrong that is. Like, saying it out loud, saying it on video, posting it for other people can also see it in their life. Like, I can't do anything but laugh. It's just so wrong. It's just so crazy, like, to keep doing that to someone. And, like, it's one thing for that person to keep, like, blindly going along with it. But when that person's like, hey, this isn't right. And it's one thing for you to not realize it's right at first. But, like, my toxic dominator has acknowledged that, like, these cycles that they keep drawing me in are toxic. In very recent conversations, like, within the last few months. So I'm thinking in my head, like, breakthrough. We can, like, grow and learn from this. Like, so you see it, I see it. To me, that's typically, like, a breakthrough moment in conversation and confrontation and arguments. Like, so now we can move in the same direction. Boy, was I wrong. So them acknowledging it wasn't them ready to grow or change or apologize or validate or anything like that. They said back to me, this is just who I am. You can't expect me to change. And little did they know, they freed me with those words. They bought me peace with those words. Because I said, you know what? In that aspect, I am the problem in this relationship because I'm the only one sitting at the table having the conversation. You're not even listening to the words coming out of my mouth. And I said that to them. You're not even listening to the words coming out of my mouth. And then they suggested we go to therapy together, family therapy. And I said, okay, I think that's a good idea. Maybe we should go to therapy together. Because maybe the therapist will listen to the words coming out of my mouth. And they left that conversation and thought everything was resolved. And everything was, just not in the same way for both of us. They thought I had submitted to them. But I submitted to the situation. I submitted to the cycle. I said, they're right. This is just who they are. They are not going to change. And if I expect them to change, I am the problem. So I decided to remove myself from the cycle. I started removing myself from the cycle mentally first. So when I saw the cycle playing out, I didn't react to it. I just stayed calm. Sometimes I made the mistake of making faces, but the faces weren't of me being shocked, like emotionally from what they were doing. My faces were me being shocked that they were still playing out this cycle without me actively participating in the cycle with them. And when I decided to do this, I said nothing to nobody because I just wanted to see everybody's raw, real, authentic reactions without me actively saying that I saw anything wrong or was doing anything to counteract the energy, the cycle. So I just watched. For the next month or two of my life at that point, I just sat back and watched. And I really had no time limit on how long I would sit back and watch. A situation just happened that made me stand up and say, well, that's it. That's all, folks. And I decided to do it loudly and publicly and messy because the situation was loud and messy. And my toxic dominator did what they usually did, and they tried to hush it. And I said, nope, that's part of me breaking the cycle. I bought a hammer to the glass house. It's not down. It's destroyed. The glass house is destroyed. I did that. It was me. Because it had to be. Living these false identities, these false purposes, living in these cycles that don't even make sense. Don't even make sense. And y'all trying to convince me, not all of y'all, I'm talking to the ones that are, right? Y'all trying to convince me that I'm the crazy one for saying I don't want to participate in this circus no more. That I want a life that's not confusing. That I want a life of clarity. That I want a life of authentic purpose. That I want to be around people that love and support the authentic person that I am. I'm the crazy one. I'm sorry my voice is getting so high, but it's just the tomfoolery. What? And, I go back and bring these stories to my friends, to my support system, and they're just... Sometimes we can't do nothing but laugh about it because it's just so crazy. It just doesn't even make sense, My toxic dominator takes nothing about me serious. Not my role as a mother, not my role as a wife, not my role as a daughter, not my business, not my boundaries. She doesn't even respect my husband's boundaries. She don't even take him serious. She talks about this man like he's a joke to me and other people. She downplays my child. My child is 2. When I say downplay, I mean like doesn't give her the grace to be a 2-year-old. You know, I don't know why I used the word downplay. That wasn't the correct word, but I had to step away to not just protect myself. I had to step away to protect my family, to protect these people that weren't born into this cycle. This isn't their fight, you know. You putting pedestrians into a war that isn't their fight. So they're just collateral damage. Yeah, you know, I feel guilty for the damage that has already been done. That I didn't put my foot down the way I am now sooner. My hair is really just boink. Okay, I'm trying not to get distracted. I'm trying to stay focused. Okay, but I'll talk about more of this cycle later. This is all I have for today. I'll try to put a cursor on my notes. I know where to start. Next time I have the space. But this is whole Indigo, right? I've been going by the surname Indigo off and on in certain circles throughout my journey of life as an adult. But this is whole Indigo. This is the authentic me, mask off. Just trying to get through it. So hopefully this video helps some people out. I'll make more parts as I get through what I typed out. Probably not quickly, you know, because I really am getting through this. I really am not going to talk about this when I'm in an unsafe mental space. You know, I'm going through therapy every week. You know, I am consistently talking to healers and spiritual advisors about this situation. I am documenting how the situation, like with my medical doctor, is affecting me and has affected me and continues to affect me physically and mentally. I am documenting with my spiritual advisor how this situation has continued and continues to affect me spiritually. You know, this is no joke. This is heavy. This is war for my soul, for my authentic self. You know, somebody purposely tried to fragment me, my being, who I am. Somebody purposely tried to set the stage so I am low and they are high. Somebody purposely tried to control my actions and my thoughts so they always have the light shining on them. And I always look like I'm helpless and a victim. That's not who I am. That's not who I have been for a very long time. So realizing self is what this journey is about. You know, it's called self-awareness, self-esteem, because it has to do with you. You have to give these things to yourself. You have to see the light around you. But I end this with love for y'all, love for me, and keep healing, you know. Peace.